수소 산업의 발전과 도약을 위한 글로벌 협력과 기회회장 H2Meet 컨퍼런스 2023 리더 서밋 온라인과 오프라인을 통해 함께 해주고 계시는 모든 참석자 여러분 진심으로 환영합니다. 리더 서밋은 수소 업계 리더와 전문가 등 글로벌 리더분들을 한자리에 모시고 지속 가능한 미래를 위한 비전을 제시하고 또 각국의 수소 정책과 또 전망을 논의하는 자리입니다. 오늘 어느덧 리더 서밋 2일차이자 마지막 날을 맞이했는데요. 오전 중에는 축사 후에 Advanced Technologies for Clean Hydrogen이라는 주제로 토픽 1이 진행이 되겠고요. 오후에는 Accelerating the Hydrogen Utilization이라는 주제로 토픽 2 발표를 들어보고 패널 토론 시간까지 가져보겠습니다. 자, 그럼 지금부터 H2Meet 컨퍼런스 2023 리더 서밋 세션 2일차를 시작하겠습니다. 먼저 H2Meet 2023 주빈국인 호주 대사관의 론 그린님께서 축사를 전해주시겠습니다. 앞쪽으로 모셔보겠습니다. 여러분 큰 박수로 환영해 주시기 바랍니다.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Ron Green. I'm the Trade Commissioner here in Seoul, working with the Australian Government and responsible for the resources and energy sector. It's an honour to be able to speak to you today, and I would like to thank the H2Meet Organising Committee for inviting me to say a few words. In 2021, the Australian Government signed a comprehensive strategic partnership with Korea. This is building on a long history of trading relationships with Korea, but the commitment is to expand that relationship, and obviously the expansion of that relationship includes closer engagement on the clean energy partnerships that we want to create. So as part of that development, our Energy Minister met with Moti Minister Lee in July of this year, and I'm confident that we will see a significant progress in our relationship with Korea in terms of our clean energy partnerships. The agenda that we have, of course, is focused on hydrogen, and in Australia we have 114 hydrogen projects that are now being developed. It's across the country, and there are various stages of progress. The largest is a 50 gigawatt renewable energy project in Western Australia, and many of these will start to come to market around 2027, 2030. There's significant regulatory barriers that have to be overcome, but you can see the scale of these projects will drive down energy costs. But it's not just in hydrogen production that we think we have a lot to offer. It's combining our clean energy with our minerals that will achieve significant contribution to decarbonising Korea Korea and Japan and other places, our key trading partners. So combining our clean energy with iron ore to produce green steel is a significant opportunity. And POSCO has announced $40 billion of capital expenditure in Australia to develop a green steel industry, and by 2040, and some of these important first decisions will be taken within the next 12 months that'll get a 2 million tonne green steel project going in Western Australia. So that's an example of how Australia is working to decarbonise Korea's industries. Another good example is Korea Zinc, the world's largest zinc producer, is now building renewable energy projects to power their zinc refinery in Queensland. And I can refer you to a company called Arc Energy as a case study for what is happening. There is already 10 MOUs between major Australian hydrogen projects and Korean companies and organisations such as KEPCO, KHNP, I think, is a sponsor here, Korea Hydro Nuclear Power. So there are examples of some of the things that are happening right now. One problem is, despite our very close trading relationship, so Korea is Australia's third largest trading partner, in terms of direct investment in Australia, Korea is ranked number 17. So in order to decarbonise Korea, we really need the investments from Korea, which will support the strong trading relationship that is required. So that's one of our key objectives, and I encourage people to come and see our booth downstairs, where there is 8 project proponents who are seeking relationships with Korea. But it's not just in investment, it's also in R&D. And we have our leading R&D institution here in Korea, who've been actually here for 2 weeks talking to their counterparts on R&D opportunities. And finally, it is on carbon capture and storage. We see significant opportunities to help Korea decarbonise through carbon capture and storage. Korea's 11th energy plan has 11 million tonnes per annum of carbon that has to be sequestered every year. I don't think there is anywhere around Korea that carbon sinks can be identified. Australia is one of the prime targets for sending the CO2, and you can imagine a future where they bring the carbon back to Australia as in liquefied form and pick up the ammonia and bring it back to Korea, again in the liquefied form. And I note Korea has received orders for 2 such ships to do exactly that, and Australia is working closely with Seoul National University to increase the pressure, reduce the temperature to allow the scaling of these vessels so that can be done more economically. So you can imagine shuttles of CO2 going back and ammonia coming up. Is that the future? I'm not sure. I can't predict the future, but it is an example of the effort that people are making towards decarbonising Korea using the resources and opportunities in Australia. So thank you for the opportunity. I will listen to some of the earlier presentations. I do want to thank our partners, of course, again, and I look forward to having any discussions about these opportunities that I've raised today. Thank you very much.
네, 호주 대사관 론 그린님의 축사 함께 청해 들어보셨습니다. 호주에서도 역시 탄소 중립을 위해서 정말 많은 노력들 기울여주고 계시는데요. 청정 에너지 산업, 또 재생 에너지 산업 발전과 성장을 위한 의미 있는 토론들 이어질 수 있기를 바라겠습니다. 고맙습니다. 자, 그럼 이어서 바로 리더스 서밋 토픽 1을 시작해 보겠습니다. 토픽 1 주제는 Advanced Technologies for Clean Hydrogen인데요. 총 7분께서 발표를 준비해 주셨습니다. 첫 번째로 Argus Media의 Senior Vice President이십니다. 팀 하드님께서 Argus Hydrogen and Future Fuels Durable Deal Making이라는 주제로 발표에 수고해 주시겠습니다. 큰 박수로 맞아주시기 바랍니다.
Hello. Well, thanks to H2 Meet, the organisers, and of course, thank you to everyone here for lending me your ears and eyes for 15 minutes. I don't appear to have a clicker to be able to change my slides. Is it available? While I wait for that, I'll introduce myself. So my name is Tim. I'm from Argus Media. We are 1,300 people around the world providing news and price intelligence to commodity industries globally, and I represent Argus Hydrogen and Future Fuels, that product. Thank you. Okay, let's get started. So, when I speak to people from outside of the industry, they always ask me or tell me 2 things. They either say, things are going slowly, or are we there yet? The reality is, everyone wants to fast forward to a hydrogen economy, but there are plenty of roadblocks in place for that, whether it's rules and regulations, subsidies, matching supply and demand. Subsidies is an important one, as we've seen, in order to get incentivized production, but but increasingly we see that it's important to incentivize consumption as well. As well as having to set the regulations around the game, understanding the rules of the game has taken some time, and it's been a system of trial and error. When the hydrogen economy started, everyone started thinking about, where can I use it? And you can use hydrogen anywhere. The better question is, where should I use it? And so we're slowly now in a place where everyone feels comfortable that it's the molecule use only that we should be using these in. And so the industries have moved up towards those highly desirable areas and away from those less desirable areas like heating, for example. So it's had huge expectations on it, the hydrogen economy. Everyone's very excited about it. Everyone's talking about it all the time. But it's not all plain sailing. And in fact, so when you look down the table there, every industry, when it starts off, moves in fits and starts. But this is no exception. And so we've seen some big halts to projects and pauses as well. So it's not all plain sailing in terms of how things are going. That's clear. One thing that we have seen moving very quickly over the course of this year, faster than a lot of people expected, I think, is hydrogen policies. And these have slotted into place much faster than a lot of people expected. I think we're in a better place than we were. But what has happened is that you've got the jigsaw pieces in place. So North America has laid out a vision for policy. It's quite relatively clear. Europe has got its act in order, and Japan and Australia are doing the same things. But what we have here are individual pieces, and the connections between the two would be very powerful. Difficult to make, but it's especially relevant in a North Asian context or an APAC context. And any link-ups that we can see between Japan and Korea and Australia particularly would be fruitful. Offtake is what everyone's talking about today. But in an environment where people aren't entirely confident in the rules of the game, it does require an article of faith from both the producer and the consumer. These are one-to-one relationships, really, that we're talking about. This is not a marketplace. We're talking about tenors of 10 years. That's a long time to be in a relationship. I should know. So these are monopsony markets in some ways, as well as having to deal with making sure that the carbon intensity is correct for both parties. You also have issues with the qualities, the quantities, the frequency of deliveries, storage. All of these elements take up a huge amount of time, and that's outside of all the regulatory compliance and those kinds of issues as well. And all of those issues come before the one which people most think about when they look to do a deal, which of course is cost or price. And in terms of price, it's had its moment in the sun, certainly, green hydrogen as an effect of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. But it's clear again that the blue hydrogen, once again, is setting the tone in terms of competitiveness. And there's an awful lot of looking at blue hydrogen at the moment. Of course, in the short term, it's going to be a lot more cost effective, and it will take time for green hydrogen costs to reduce. So when we're looking at blue hydrogen, it's very mobile, the cost. So people always just think, oh, it's natural gas, but it's not. So you'd have to have very good eyes to see what these the legends say at the bottom. The blue is the capex, the red is the opex, the green is the natural gas. I can't even see what the purple is. But it illustrates the point that natural gas is a big driver, but not the only driver. Power costs are important as well. Depending on your jurisdiction, carbon costs can be important as well. And carbon, of course, is something of a wild card over the medium term for many people. You look at the case of Europe, that's a very fast escalation that we've seen in carbon pricing. Singapore's just had a big jack up in its carbon pricing, so it's not going down globally, obviously. And then, of course, we have the integration of carbon prices with the carbon border adjustment mechanism, which really gives some medium-term teeth to those carbon pricing and gives it an effect worldwide. So I said before that hydrogen isn't a market. It's a pre-market market. We've seen this over many different industries. LNG is a relatively recent example. The first sort of stage of this kind of market of a novel industry is an offtake stage, and that's where we are now. Arguably, we're at a pre-offtake stage. The offtake stage is around 10 years. Producer pricing, of course, that's negotiated, but that's what that is. Quite often, when we see industries develop, you can see them move towards a benchmark stage. People in Korea will be very familiar with that. We've seen that in areas like iron ore and coking coal, where annually the biggest dog in the room sets the price, everyone follows. And then finally, you come towards a spot phase, and that's some way off, of course. And each one of these has different tenors for how long pricing stands for. So when we're in this offtake stage, we're looking at negotiating offtakes between a producer and a consumer. It depends, obviously, on what type of hydrogen you're looking for. There is only hydrogen, but the carbon intensity of that hydrogen. When you're looking to negotiate each of these elements, each of these has different parts to it. It could be coal as an input, it could be gas, it could be renewable energy. You still have to add in the compression costs. There's an awful lot of variables in there. And if you're having to negotiate that one-to-one, it's quite dangerous. Mainly because if I sat down with 10 of you today and we hammered out an agreement each and we negotiated over 10 variables, I would end up with 10 different agreements. There's no question about that. That matters very little on day one, but those small differences add up quite significantly over time, and you can find yourselves quite far apart. So if, for example, I used Henry Hub or TTF, that would make a big difference straight away. Let's say the collars that we put on things like power pricing really matters. And this does matter to everyone because the buyers in this case are going to be resource transformers, and they're incredibly margin sensitive, and they're very, very averse to having a differential open up between them and their peers in terms of what they're paying for their costs. I run forward an example here of everyone starting at 100, index 100 at the beginning, and then fast forward a year, making some minor adjustments for things like power linkages, which natural gas link is used, etc. No resource transformer is going to be happy with a 7-bit divergence. That's just over the course of a year. I should have done this for 10 years. I didn't have the time. But I should have done that because that gets worrying over time, very worrying. And that really matters because I started off with the yin-yang saying this is a symbiotic relationship between a counterparty and a producer, and it has to be durable, and it has to last for 10 years. But when you are under margin pressure, because of variance in your buying costs, it inevitably leads to contract dispute. Obviously, you will have margin distress. There's going to be contract renegotiation, breakages, those kinds of things. None of these are good. None of those are good. One of the things that we're looking at discussing with the market is index linkage. We take all of those variables that are discussed, we put them out in a public manner so that people can see them. We show our working so that people understand how these costs are made up and discuss all the elements to them. That makes the linkages much, much simpler because you can just choose your technology, your carbon intensity, and then a premium. Very simple. And if people look at doing it that way, there is fundamentally a limit to how much damage they can do to themselves. It's negotiating a premium. Everyone moves around the index. The only question is by how much? How much have you agreed to pay over index as margin, basically, for the producer? And so the divergence doesn't happen in that case. I won't go through the slide. There's an awful lot of text, but you will get the slides afterwards. Really, just making the same points as I've been discussing, that there is a clear value to offtakes and index linkage in early stage markets. Very briefly, I wanted to touch on the carbon intensity. I think we led by putting something out on carbon intensity in 2020, and we're just about to update this as well because it's clear that there's some harmonization around upstream emissions. In a Korean context, that's important, and there's a taxonomy there for bands of what's acceptable in each range. Obviously, each country will set its own, and that would enable us to offer country-specific indices. But it's important in a Korean context because there is a question around the definition of how clean hydrogen is. And that really matters because you are at the end of an LNG chain, and so you have additional embedded emissions from the compression and the regasification and the transport and the boil-off gas of getting it to you. And so that does matter because if it's set too tight, there will be no domestic blue hydrogen industry, which is very important for understanding make or buy, the marginal ton, and all these classic commodity conditions. Another thing that I see, so talking about definitions there, now moving on to duration of contracts. Duration is a sticking point, undoubtedly, when speaking to people in the Korean market. 10-year fixed price is challenging. When we look at where hydrogen is going to be used, whether it's in hydrogen or the carrier format ammonia, hydrogen is going to be active against LNG, ammonia is going to be active against coal. And so the gold ones there are LNG on the left in the Northeast Asian context. The gold on the right is Richards Bay, 6,000 kcal. Now bear in mind that the other bars here are costs. They're not prices, so you can expect to see 20% added to those. Some are in the money at the moment, some aren't. But it's clear that subsidies are going to be extremely helpful for bridging the gap, especially in the early years, for consumers as well as producers. It's not just okay to incentivize producers. We keep seeing again and again that to get things moving, to get them over the line, you need to have the consumption side supported too. We've seen many schemes coming out in Germany, in the Netherlands and elsewhere, bridging that gap between different deltas, between grey and green, blue and green. Something similar might be necessary here, because the question is, can they compete as substitutes alone? Again, really just showing this is on a blue hydrogen, grey and blue on the bottom from SMR and ATR, and green. Green's obviously very far out of the money at the moment. To incentivize usage, some sort of subsidy will be required there. And even with the blue hydrogen, clearly at that billing quantity there, that's the straight line across the top, 2022 was very challenging for use. Possible in 2023, but before, very, very difficult to make. That's it from me. So I'll say that the last three things that I wanted to make the point about today really was around definition. It really is important, that question about whether Korean industry will be able to have a domestic champion, domestic production. Duration for offtakes is very important. 10 years is often sought on a fixed price basis, but if there was some flexibility there towards a 3-year, with a guaranteed volume of course, but a 3-year negotiation, that seems like it would be helpful. And finally, subsidies. They do seem important in a Korean context. Thank you.
네, 고맙습니다. 첫 번째 순서였습니다. 아규스 미디어의 팀 하드 시니어 바이스 프레지던트님의 발표 잘 들어봤습니다. 자, 다음으로 ANDI NATURGAS 하이드로젠의 이규제큐티브 디렉터이십니다. 카렌 페랄타님께서 Low Emission Hydrogen, Colombia's Strategy to Decarbonize the Economy라는 주제로 발표 들려주시겠습니다. 무대로 모시겠습니다. 큰 박수 부탁드립니다.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for this invitation. My name is Karen Peralta. I'm director of ANDI NATURGAS Hydrogen Chamber in Colombia. We are an association which represents around 50 companies in Colombia in all hydrogen value chain. So for us, it's very important to be here talking about the Colombian opportunities to produce hydrogen by different methods. So for me, I'm honored to be here before you today to present these tremendous opportunities that represent Colombia in the hydrogen ecosystem. ANDI NATURGAS Hydrogen Chamber works to promote the hydrogen ecosystem like driver of decarbonization and sustainable development. I am going to talk about Colombia's potential, its commitment to sustainable energy solution, and the many ways in which investors can capitalize on this emerging sector. First, I know that you know this graphic as well. We know how about the global shift towards renewable and sustainable energy sources. The world is in a critical point addressing climate change, and hydrogen is the forefront of this energy revolution. Hydrogen, according to the International Renewable Energy Agency, will to contribute with 10% of greenhouse emission reduction by 2050 year. Hydrogen is an energy carrier that can be produced by different methods: renewable hydrogen, blue hydrogen, with CCUS technologies, and white hydrogen. The good news is that Colombia has all resources to produce low-carbon hydrogen. So Colombia has natural resources and geographical advantage stands poised to become a key player in the global hydrogen market. Here are some key reasons why Colombia is an attractive destination for hydrogen investors. First one, Colombia has exceptional renewable sources. In La Guajira, in the north of the country, the wind speed is twice the world average, and it also exceeds the world average for solar radiation, which make it an ideal location for renewable hydrogen and power-to-X projects. Second one, strategic location. Geographically, Colombia is located to serve as a gateway for hydrogen trade within the Americas. With access to Pacific and Atlantic oceans, we can facilitate the export of hydrogen. In addition, the main ammonia routes transit through Colombia. Third, water. Colombia is part of top 10 countries that concentrate 46% of the global water supply. And fourth, government support. The Colombian government is fully committed to fostering the growth of the hydrogen sector. Pilot projects, tax incentives, and policies are being developed to attract, invest in this sector. So, Colombia has a range of resources and potential advantage to produce green, blue, and white hydrogen, or the new classification of low-carbon hydrogen. These different types of hydrogen are produced using various or different methods and can play a significant role in the energy transition, not only for our country, but also for the rest of the world. In Colombia, green hydrogen is a big possibility. Green hydrogen produced with renewable energy sources. Colombia has several resources that make it conducive to green hydrogen production: abundant solar resources, wind potential, and hydropower. Colombia has well-established hydropower infrastructure, which can provide a continuous sources of renewable energy for electrolysis. Blue hydrogen. Produced from natural gas, Colombia is producer of natural gas with carbon capture and storage technologies, which mitigates greenhouse gas emissions. Colombia has substantial natural gas reserve and potential for CCS technologies. In Colombia, there are several geological formations for carbon capture and storage, a critical component of blue hydrogen production to reduce emissions. White hydrogen. Colombia is investing in research and development to explore the feasibility of white hydrogen or natural hydrogen. Now, I'd like to talk about a little bit of the incredible potential of solar energy in Colombia, particularly in the north of the country. This region receives some of the highest levels of solar radiation in the country and in Latin America. This natural advantage focused the Colombian Caribbean as a powerhouse of solar energy generation. In the Colombian Caribbean, there are few cloudy days per year. This consistent solar irradiance makes it a prime location to solar panel installations. Colombia is committed with the energy transition. In the last years, we are increased the photovoltaic energy capacity from 1 megawatt to 200 megawatts. What about wind potential? As I said before, Colombia has one of the best natural conditions of onshore and offshore wind in the world. Colombia Caribbean coast has abundant energetic wind resources with a total technical potential resource estimate at more than 100 gigawatts and the estimate net capacity factors around between 65 and 70%. However, taking into consideration environmental, social, and technical issues, the potential development is estimated all about 50 gigawatts, equivalent to 2.8 times the total existing generation capacity in the country currently. In addition to solar and wind power, Colombia has two promising natural resources to produce hydrogen: geothermal and hydropower. This sustainable option will provide us continuous and clean electricity to produce hydrogen or clean hydrogen. Colombia has high geothermal potential concentrated in the north, in the center of the country. On the other hand, hydropower is a significant asset for Colombia, making it an ideal place for hydropower projects to contribute to have continuously energy supply. Right. As we look to the future, the combined potential of all energy resources represent an incredible opportunity to energy transition and decarbonize the economy, both local and global. In Colombia, industries like refineries and fertilizers demand around 150,000 tons of hydrogen per year. We expect that this demand by 2050 ramp up to 10 times and diversify applications in heavy transport, aviation, and other industrial activities. And with natural resources, Colombia could produce 4 times the local demand. All these exceptional conditions has positioned Colombia like fourth most competitive country to produce hydrogen around the world, at the second one in Latin America. According to the International Renewable Energy Agency, Colombia could produce hydrogen around $1 per kilogram. So we need to cooperate to reduce the electrolysis cost in around 80% and improve the technology. At the same time, we have challenges to cut the cost of electricity in more than 50%. Other aspects associated with the cost of production of the cost of hydrogen is the final cost, is the cost of capital. So in the ANDI NATURGAS hydrogen chamber, we are working on innovator schemes of financial schemes to develop this kind of projects in our country. The good news is that public and private sector are working together. Sorry. Yeah. The good news is that public and private sector are working together in order to build a strong hydrogen ecosystem. A few weeks ago, Ministry of Energy of Colombia published the draft version of Just Energy Transition Roadmap. In this energy transition scenario, hydrogen has a relevant role in the energy transition to decarbonize transport and industries. In addition, according to the roadmap, Colombia not only expects to increase the demand of hydrogen in strategic sectors, also Colombia plans to increase the goal of electrolysis capacity by 2050 year to 25 gigawatts from 3 gigawatts, that is the actual goal for 2030 year. So Colombia has defined a complete hydrogen strategy. In 2021, Colombia includes hydrogen in the energy transition law and extend a tax incentive to green and blue hydrogen. Colombia is the only country in Latin America that has developed a specific tax scheme for hydrogen projects. Colombia has developed a strategy to deploy low-carbon hydrogen for domestic and export markets. In 2021, Colombia launched the Hydrogen Roadmap with 60 priority actions to achieve the goals in the country by 2030 year. In addition, Colombia is taking concrete steps to achieve our hydrogen goals. We have 7 pilot projects to demonstrate the feasibility of hydrogen use in various sectors, including transportation, industry, and power generation. Moreover, we are committed to advancing our hydrogen production capabilities, improving energy efficiency. Colombia hydrogen industry ambition for the coming years will be to develop large-scale projects and production of hydrogen derivatives, such as methanol and ammonia, to domestic and export markets. Together, we will make it possible. Now, Colombia is looking for a strategic partnership with the aim to transforming challenges into opportunities to contribute to global environmental goals. Colombia recognizes the immense potential of hydrogen in our pursuit of sustainable and clean energy future. We are determined to take a leading role in the global hydrogen economy, emphasizing diversity and production methods, fostering innovation, and seeking international partnership. Together, we can work towards a greener and more prosperous future for Colombia and the world. Thank you very much.
네, 고맙습니다. 지속 가능한 에너지 솔루션을 위한 콜롬비아의 이 잠재력과 경쟁력에 대해서 들려주셨습니다. 자, 다음으로는 아바다 그룹의 시니어 이규제큐티브 바이스 프레지던트이십니다. 디팍 아그라왈라님을 무대로 모시고 발표 청해 듣겠습니다. 큰 박수 부탁드립니다.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Thank you, H2Meet, for giving us an opportunity to present Avaada Group. I am Deepak Agrawala, Senior Executive Vice President. I have 2 roles. I look at business development, for the green ammonia and green molecules. And I also head the equity capital vertical and investor relations. Before going into specifics of Avaada Group, I thought listening to all the other fellow speakers and this last entire week in South Korea, I thought give some perspective on where India lies in this energy transition landscape. Yeah, so basically, India has been on a very strong and aggressive growth curve on the renewable energy. Just in 2010, we were just upwards of 50 gigawatts, and in the last 13 years, we have managed to more than triple this capacity to 176 gigawatts. And the government has embarked on a mission to grow the renewable energy capacity to all the way to 500 gigawatts by the end of 2030, which will be close to 50% of the overall installed energy electricity base in India. And over and above this, we will have a new layer of energy transition through the green hydrogen economy, which will add another 125 gigawatt of renewable energy potential. India's leadership, basically, as you all would be very well aware of, India is already amongst the top 5 markets in the global renewable energy landscape. And this is not just speaks about the abundance, it also speaks about the amongst the lowest cost producers for renewable energy, which is absolutely critical for entire green hydrogen economy. Another interesting statistic, which I thought I'll just bring it to you, is the substantial fall in the tariffs for the renewable energy industry in last more than a decade. And for illustration, I have given an example of a solar PV utility-based projects. So if you see the journey, the tariffs are down all the way to just under 3 cents US dollar for the solar. And now even for the recent bids during 2022-23, where we are seeing some inflationary pressures and rising interest cost. So the tariffs are still around between 3 to 4 US dollar cents for hybrid tenders involving solar, wind, and a combination of some kind of storage, which is upwards of 4 cents. Going specifically to Avaada Group, we are an energy transition company. The middle vertical, which is the renewable energy business, is the core of Avaada Group, where we have presence across all the forms of energy, and now we are getting into wind as well as pump storage hydro, because we clearly see in the long term at a gigawatt scale, battery is not the solution, and pump storage is a long-lasting sustainable solution. To protect us from the supply chain risk as well as the geopolitical risk, we have diversified into equipment manufacturing through the solar PV panel manufacturing facility, because that's one of the only thing which India relies significantly on imports of solar modules. We are also in the process of finalizing the technology partner for the electrolyzer manufacturing. We have also ventured into downstream business of fuel and feedstock, utilizing the abundance and the low-cost structures of renewable energy and also availability of grid at a very large scale. So this will help us to produce green hydrogen and other green molecules at a significant low-cost price points. In terms of targets and the numbers, currently within the renewable energy, we have about 11 gigawatts of project either operational and under implementation. To be precise, 4 gigawatt is operating, 3 gigawatt is already under construction, and balance 4 gigawatt is about to enter construction in coming quarters. We have a target to scale to 30 gigawatt equivalent solar capacity, which would be a combination of solar, wind, hydro, especially the pump storage hydro. Within the fuel and feedstock business, we have a target to reach 4 million ton capacity by the end of 2030. We are already in the midst of hectic development activities for the first project of 0.5 million tons green ammonia, which I'll speak more in coming slides. On the backward integration, we are setting up an integrated facility right from solar ingots, wafers, cells, and modules of 5 gigawatt in 2 phases. And subsequently, post 2025, we will go all the way to polysilicon, making it 100% indigenized and also doubling the capacity to 10 gigawatts. This will cater to the requirements of both Avaada Group as well as all the global developers who are looking alternative to China as one of the potential module suppliers. This has been the journey of Avaada Group in two parts during 2009 to 2016, during which we created a 1.2 gigawatt platform and monetized it and sold to one of the competitors. And we again entered in 2017 as Avaada Group. And in a matter of 4.5 years, we have touched 4 gigawatt operating capacity. And an important point to note, in 2013, we commissioned the world's second largest and the Asia's largest solar power plant of 151 megawatt. And we repeated the history. And in 2022, when we inducted PTT Group as our strategic investor, here we commissioned the world's largest single location solar plant of 1.25 gigawatt. This is very critical for you to understand and appreciate, because when we are talking of green molecules, we are talking of thousands and thousands of acres of land and access to transmission system, which are absolutely critical to ensure and make green molecule happen. Recently, we inducted Brookfield as our another strategic investor, and Brookfield has selected Avaada as the only green hydrogen, green ammonia platform in the world to partner with as of now. We are very conscious of our contribution to the society, and wherever our projects are located anywhere in India. So this is through the Avaada Foundation and the Avaada CSR activity. We are currently meeting 13 out of 17 UN SDG goals, and we are all out efforts are there to maintain and continue to improve on this SDG commitment which Avaada has given to the society at large. Within renewable energy, what sets Avaada unique versus other competitors is we are a one-stop full integrated platform. So we are project developers, we do the land acquisition, permits, approvals, business development, everything is managed in-house. As an IPP, we own the asset. We have a full design and EPC capability in-house for the renewable energy complex, as well as the transmission arrangement. And we are also finally, once the asset becomes operational, it is taken care of by the asset management team to ensure the optimized O&M operations. We expect to replicate these capabilities in our green molecule business, though in the initial projects we will still rely on external EPC contractors, but over a period of time we'll gradually indigenize the EPC capabilities for the green molecule as well. And this is absolutely critical to ensure that you deliver the renewable energy complex on time within budget, so that you can make best of the returns. This is what I was referring to in our earlier slide. So this plant is world's largest single location solar plant by any private equity, private IPP, fully operational, located in northwest of India, spread over 5,000 acres with 3 million solar modules. So I welcome the entire Korean industry to come to India, understand Avaada, visit this plant, to understand the size and scale that India has to offer and what Avaada can do. So just to give you an example, for a 1 million ton green ammonia plant, we now have to set up almost 5 gigawatt equivalent renewable energy. And such projects will need at least 3 to 3.5 gigawatts of solar projects. There are very few countries and very few companies in the world who can demonstrate more than 12 to 15,000 acres of land that would be needed, and also the access to transmission infrastructure to make it happen at the lowest cost possible. National Geography has also run a documentary which you can go to the YouTube link and see this project online as well. Within the green ammonia business, we have a platform, we are creating a platform of 4 million tons. A lot of the development activities have already in place for our first project of 0.5 million tons, which is an integrated project of the RE complex, as well as the green hydrogen and green ammonia project located near the port, including the storage and the terminal facilities to load the cargo. So this project we are willing to offer to potential off-takers for delivery from early 2027 onwards. two subsequent projects of 1 million ton each along the west coast of India. We are expect to receive approval by the end of this year, and these are scheduled to come on stream during 27-28 time frame. So for our first project, when we are talking of scaling up the green ammonia project, what we are clearly telling is we need to cut the execution time wherever we can. So what we have done is we have adopted an LEPC approach. L essentially stands for the licensor selection, and very consciously after our discussion for last nearly 2 years with all the potential technology providers as well as the EPC contractors, we have found that the licensor be kept open rather than pre-selecting the licensor and then inviting the EPC bids. That will help us to optimize the design, optimize the cost, and optimize the execution time frame. This approach will also involve the full feed engineering, which will be done by the EPC contractor once it's finalized during the course of this year. We are already in the middle of our EPC contractor selection process. We already have land in place, right of way for the transmission infrastructure, approval for the transmission substation. Everything is already in place, including the government subsidies and the incentives for our first project. Just to give you an idea how we are planning to do the EPC contracting, because this is very critical to ensure that the project is delivered on time. On the left-hand side, we see the owner's scope of work, which is the entire renewable energy complex, which will be done by Avaada Energy in-house and supply round-the-clock power through the energy banking system in place in India to meet the round-the-clock requirement of the green molecule. The green hydrogen, which is the package 1, package 2 is the ammonia block. They too will be co-located about 5 kilometers from the port boundary. And then finally the storage facilities as package 3. So we have split the packages to ensure that all the 3 projects, sub-projects can be proceed concurrently and it can be completed on time. The beauty is that we have received participants and interest from several EPC contractors all over the world. Some have participated for all 3 packages and some have participated on the various combinations of each of them. This will help us to now select what is the best optimum package and at cost and the time that we can proceed. Ultimately, the overall RAP guarantee would be given by the full one single EPC contractor who is providing the ammonia complex. From the policy perspective, what we clearly see is what the India and South Korea can do is taking a cue from what Japan has done through the JCM mechanism under Article 6 of Paris Agreement. So this Article 6 allows us, especially the Article 6.2 allows the NDC to be tradable between the 2 countries located one each in global north and second in global south, let's say in India and South Korea, and they can trade these NDCs through an instrument called ITMOs. So this arrangement can also be worked out between India and South Korean government. And this once this system is in place, under Article 6.4, the benefit of transfer of ITMOs between the 2 countries can actually also lead to the benefit between the 2 private companies in these 2 countries. So we can have an off-taker in the South Korean country, which can benefit from the low-cost production in India, and then the government of India will benefit through the green molecule production, reducing the GHG emissions, and transfer that NDCs to the South Korean government to meet their commitments. I'll just skip this. This is what I was referring to. So on the left-hand side, there could be an arrangement between the 2 countries through the ITMO transfer, and there is already a very scientific process put in place to define how the ITMO can be calculated for a green ammonia project. And on the right-hand side, there could be a relationship between Avaada and a Korean off-taker, wherein we supply the green molecule to them, and the Korean company will benefit through the subsidies from the government through CFD, as well as the capex that will be needed to set up the input infrastructure, including the ammonia storage and the pipelines and subsequent transfer. So coming to my last slide, so basically what we are looking as an asset owners, we are looking for potential offtake agreements for supply of green ammonia and green hydrogen molecules and other green derivatives as and when we develop especially methanol and SAF. We are looking for supply chain partners as well as the technology providers because we understand Korea has a very well developed of hydrogen and electrolyzer ecosystem. So we encourage you to come and let us know. We can have discussions for the exchange of technology as well as to become a part of our supply chain ecosystem. Thank you. Thank you all.
네, 고맙습니다. 인도 에너지 경제와 또 인도의 재생 에너지 상황에 대해서 설명을 해주셨고요. 에너지 전환 그룹이라고 소개를 해주셨는데요. 아바다 그룹의 친환경 에너지 생산 목표와 또 핵심 사업 등에 대해서 발표를 해주셨습니다. 고맙습니다. 자, 계속해서 다음은 SOEC for Hydrogen Economy라는 주제로 Elcogen 세일즈 디렉터이십니다. 한우 안틸라 님께서 발표에 수고해 주시겠습니다. 힘찬 박수로 맞아주시기 바랍니다.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Hannu, Anttila. I'm a sales director at Elcogen, a technology company focused on SOFC and SOEC technology. I'm happy to be in Korea again, and I thank the H2 Meet organizers for inviting me to speak. I've noticed in all my trips that my name is very easy to remember for the Korean people because it's very close to the word for Korean premium beef. Hannu. So the key thing to remember about Elcogen is that we are a company completely focused on solid oxide technology. We are advocating both use cases for it, which is the fuel cell use case and the electrolysis use case. The same technology, working just in reverse. So X to power or power to X. We see that in fuel cell applications, the fuel flexibility and the superior efficiency open up key applications. And in electrolysis, again, superior efficiency and a few additional features make solid oxide, in our view, one of the key technologies for energy transition and decarbonization. As a company, Elcogen has a kind of Intel Inside strategy. We are developing the ceramic core component, the unit cell, already since 2001, a proprietary set of technologies and manufacturing techniques that we are doing. We are putting those cells into stacks, again developed completely in-house for close to 15 years. And finally, we are developing ways how you can bundle these stacks into larger units called stack modules. But that is basically where Elcogen's scope ends. We then work with system integrators and OEM manufacturers who will then design and build systems for the applications that they want to address. So some companies can do smaller combined heat and power fuel cell systems, while others focus on the 100 gigawatt solid oxide electrolyzer solutions. And then those customers of ours will then work with the end users and end customers, the project developers, and so on. So Elcogen is a core component supplier in this solid oxide space. We have already been around for over 20 years, 22 years, developing the technology. Things take time in the hydrogen world, and solid oxide technology has its inception over 50 years ago already. And many companies over the years have invested greatly in developing the technology. However, we think that the time has come for solid oxide, and we are increasing our efforts. We have doubled our employee count in the last year. We have a new strong C-suite in place for the whole Elcogen group, which is actually divided between Estonia, where the company was founded in 2001, and Finland, where we do the stack development. So we are doubling our revenue every year. Here. Currently, we are making the step from early stage pre-commercial manufacturing to commercial manufacturing by preparing to build our first commercial factory in Estonia. If currently we are able to produce up to 8 megawatts of SOEC capacity per year, this will expand to 270 megawatts per year with the new factory, which is starting to ramp up in 2025. And as I said, this is going to be located in Estonia, but it is a model factory which can then be replicated and built to different parts of the world and scaled up as the demand increases. And our strategic partners are requesting more of the components. Where we see the advantages in solid oxide is that firstly it is the reversibility. With the same hardware at the core, you can build systems that actually can be reversed. But from our point of view, we are basically just manufacturing the same hardware that customers can adapt to different kinds of applications, fuel cells or electrolyzers. The efficiency with solid oxide is superior, and I should mention that in fuel cell applications with natural gas, Elcogen has demonstrated the world record electrical efficiency of over 75% conversion. The fuel flexibility is another point in favor of solid oxide. So we are not only tied to hydrogen in fuel cell applications, but natural gas, biogas, ammonia, ethanol, methanol. For each of these fuels, you can build systems that very efficiently convert the fuel to electricity and heat. So then one of the benefits we see in the long term for solid oxide is the cost. So we will see lower operating cost with solid oxide already in the coming few years. But also inherently in the solid oxide technology, there is nothing in terms of materials or the manufacturing that would make it more expensive in large volumes than alkaline or definitely compared to PEM. And finally, the one unique aspect is that with solid oxide you can also utilize carbon. So you can do dry electrolysis with solid oxide, so turning carbon dioxide into carbon monoxide, and even do it together with steam, so you can directly produce syngas in a solid oxide electrolyzer. So where we are in terms of timeline is that we see fuel cell applications being done today, and then in the short to mid-term we see increasing number of electrolysis customers commercializing their products. the CO2 utilization and actually building reversible systems is a bit more long-term in our view. And also marine applications for solid oxide, we see that them taking off in the next decade, more likely, with of course pilots happening in the next few years. So some of you probably know the basics of splitting water or how to make hydrogen. But the three key technologies that are being talked about today, alkaline, PEM, and solid oxide, they have differences with solid oxide being the high temperature technology and the others working with liquid water. So one of in the materials in the solid oxide, one key thing is that we don't have any need for precious metals. So that will give some long-term confidence on the material supplies. In terms of physics, the underlying benefit of solid oxide really comes from the laws of physics. So we see that working with liquid water has a certain energy requirement to split hydrogen, the water molecules into hydrogen. But as you increase the temperature, you will see that the electricity requirement for splitting the water molecules goes down. And also there is a step change in the heat requirement when you start working with steam. So overall, in the regime where SOEC is working 600 to 800 degrees, you will have a significantly lower electricity requirement for splitting the water molecules. And this is at its heart the core benefit of solid oxide technology for the hydrogen economy. When you need less electricity, your operating cost, which dominates the price of hydrogen, will be lower. And how much lower? So we have shown with initial tests of our SOEC stack that on the stack level we are starting to produce hydrogen at 33 kilowatt hours per kilogram. So this is, of course, the stack is receiving steam already at high temperature and outputting steam and hydrogen. But even if you build the balance of plant around our stack, then the system level efficiency is somewhere in the 33 kilowatt hours per kilogram. And then the sort of auxiliary equipment you need for a plant are not really our scope or our expertise, but on balance you will have about 30% advantage for SOEC in terms of electricity consumption per produced kilogram of hydrogen. This assumes that on the system level you are receiving steam into the system. If you have to make your own steam by evaporation, the benefit is still there, but lower, maybe around 10%. But really, how you can compare is that of course voltage in the system equals to efficiency. Efficiency equals to operation cost. Current density then equals to the hydrogen production rate, and then your production rate density then equals to capex or your product cost. So on OPEX terms, we have a significant advantage already. In capex terms, in our view, the technology will evolve and cost per kilowatt will go down so much as a function of volume that it will be on par with alkaline and better than PEM by 2030. Reversibility. This is just a real result with our stack tests. So running in electrolysis mode and running in fuel cell mode. the same stack working in both modes. The other benefit already mentioned is the utilization of carbon dioxide. So we've done already early tests with dry electrolysis with the Danish Technology University, DTU, indicating that it is working, and there's good use cases ahead for CO2 utilization. The fact that you can actually produce syngas is another benefit, and you can tune the composition of the syngas by changing the operating conditions. So there's additional use cases that you will see for solid oxide that then start enabling, for example, synthetic fuel production in a more cost-efficient way. For example, removing the need for a reverse water-gas shift in producing, for example, methanol, if you can produce syngas directly with the electrolyzer. Of course, there are still some challenges with solid oxide electrolysis. It is a newer application of solid oxide, so less studied, less tested, less developed. So the fuel cell application is more mature, better understood. So what we have seen so far is that on the unit cell level, we are producing very stable results. There is a initial deactivation of a unit cell in the first 1,000 hours, and this is, I believe, a common feature with all solid oxide electrolyzers today. But then where work is still needed is on the stack lifetime, and that work is of course ongoing, and we are confident that these challenges will be overcome. Another challenge with solid oxide is that you can come to our booth downstairs and see the actual stack. It is actually pretty small. If you are accustomed to seeing alkaline stacks which fill half a room and have many megawatts in one, then a solid oxide stack, in our case, is about 9 kilowatts in SOEC terms. So the way to make larger systems is to bundle many stacks together. A work that we are also doing, so creating stack modules with common manifolding and scaling the modules that way. Then, when it all comes down to is the cost of hydrogen. This graph is from outside sources by Fraunhofer, IRENA, Eurostat, and Roland Berger, and it highlights how in a hypothetical 100 megawatt plant, the output would be already about 10% higher with solid oxide compared to alkaline and PEM, which are really quite neck and neck in terms of cost. So about 10% benefit when you start with liquid water, but if you are able to integrate with a steam supply, so in industrial situations, for example, ammonia production, nuclear power, concrete manufacture, where you have high heat available, then this equivalent number would be between 13 to 14 thousand tons per year, I think. Kilotons per year. So the benefit is there, and with solid oxide it is possible to produce hydrogen at a lower cost. Some of the practical cases we are involved with, we work with a Finnish system manufacturer, Convion. They've been known for producing highly efficient fuel cell systems, and recently have modified that to work as an electrolyzer. and already announced a deal to supply 0.5 megawatt to Shell in the Netherlands. So hopefully there will be good results starting next year. Also with Convion, we've already run the SOEC system for about 1,000 hours during this summer with very, or actually better than expected results in Finland and with VTT, the National Research Agency of Finland. And in that project, the goal is to produce synthetic fuels, combining the hydrogen output to a Fischer-Tropsch process that VTT has developed. We've also worked with a large European consortium on a C2 fuel project where Elcogen has practiced our system understanding by building a small electrolyzer unit ourselves that is going to be situated in Dunkirk Harbor, receiving CO2 from ArcelorMittal steel mill. And then through the efforts of other partners in the project, these feedstocks are turned into formic acid and dimethyl ether. ANDI is running this project and participants such as Volkswagen, CNRS, leading technical universities in Europe are producing different parts of the project. So an important end-to-end chain for Power-to-X production is being demonstrated here. So in summary, what you can get from Elcogen is some of the best technology in the market for stacks, solid oxide stacks, solid oxide stack modules, and of course we lend our expertise for the customers to design their systems. And we hope that the outcome is a system for commercialization. So we are looking for partners who can scale in the future. And if you want to have a more chat with us, please visit us downstairs on booth D32. Thank you.
네, 고맙습니다. 엘코젠의 비즈니스와 또 탈탄소 핵심 기술에 대해서 소개를 해주셨는데요. 더 자세한 내용이 궁금하신 분들은 마지막에 언급해 주신 것처럼 부스 32번 방문해 주시기 바랍니다. 고맙습니다. 자, 계속해서 5번째 강연은 RWE Renewable Korea의 Head of Pipeline Origination이신 이재두님의 강연이 있겠습니다. Developing Green Hydrogen Business Solution with RW이라는 주제로 발표를 해주시겠는데요. 박수로 청해 들어보도록 하겠습니다.
네, 반갑습니다. RWE 코리아의 사업 계열을 맡고 있는 이재두 본부장입니다. 저는 발표를 한국말로 하겠습니다. 편하게 들으시면 되고요. 또 한국 사람답게 빨리빨리 하겠습니다. 네, 저는 오늘 RWE 저희가 개발하고 있는 프로젝트 개발 현황 그리고 경제성 검토 결과를 중심으로 말씀을 드리도록 하겠습니다. 네, 저희 RWE는 125년 역사를 가진 독일 최대의 발전회사고요. 독일 내 위치는 한국으로 따지면 한전과 가스공사를 합친 역할을 하고 있고 글로벌하게는 전 세계에서 탑티어 리뉴어블 에너지 발전사로서 플레이를 하고 있습니다. 그리고 자산 규모를 국내 대기업 집단군과 비교를 하면은 한 국내 순위로 한 3위에서 4위 정도 되는 에너지 전문 업체라고 보시면 되겠습니다. 이 그림이 저희가 생각하는 중장기 포트폴리오입니다. 육상, 해상 풍력, 그리고 태양광, ESS를 활용한 전기 생산과 트레이딩은 이미 저희가 활발하게 활동을 하고 있는 분야고요. 추가적으로 조만간 저희가 투자가 확정된 것들이 그린 수소, 블루 수소를 생산해서 수입하는 거, 그리고 그린 수소를 활용해서 현재 저희가 운영 중인 화력 발전소의 혼소 발전을 하는 것들도 조만간의 포트폴리오로 추가될 계획입니다. 저희 목표입니다. 2030년까지 50 빌리언 유로, 그러니까 저희로 따지면 한국 돈으로 환산하면 한 약 7조 정도를 투자를 해서 2030년까지 50기가와트의 생산 캐파를 순수하게 신재생으로만 할당하고자 하는 게 저희 목표입니다. 저희 사업 구조입니다. 아까 말씀드렸던 사업군을 다 포함을 하고 있고요. 저희 RWE 코리아는 여기 나와 있는 RWE Renewables 산하에 있고요. 그리고 한국에 지사를 설립한 지는 한 3년 정도 됐고, 저희는 주로 해상 풍력을 중점적으로 개발을 하고 있고, 그의 트레이딩 암도 일부 보유를 하고 있습니다. 여기 나와 있는 내용 중에 원자력 발전은 독일 정부 정책에 따라서 작년에 전부 다 디코미셔닝을 완료를 했고요. 갈탄 화력 발전은 2030년까지 순차적으로 페이즈 아웃 해가지고 전부 다 리뉴어블로 대체할 계획입니다. 네, 저희 수소 쪽에서도 저희 독보적인 위상을 가지고 있다고 감히 말씀드리고 싶은데요. 현재 유럽을 중심으로 약 30개의 그린 수소 프로젝트에 저희가 참여를 하고 있고요. 파이프라인은 약 10기가와트 정도를 보유를 하고 있습니다. 그리고 친환경 전력 생산에서부터 그린 수소 생산, 수소 트레이딩 및 혼소 발전소까지 직접 운영을 하면서 전 밸류 체인을 가지고 있다고 말씀드릴 수 있겠습니다. 다음은 저희가 가지고 있는 트레이딩 암인 RWE Supply and Trading, 줄여서 RWEST라고 부릅니다. 그쪽에서 하고 있는 사업에 대해서 간략히 설명을 드리겠습니다. 저희 RWEST는 그린 암모니아, 청정 암모니아 밸류 체인을 관련해서 전 영역을 커버할 수 있는 역량을 가진 전 세계 몇 안 되는 회사 중에 하나라고 생각을 합니다. 신재생 에너지를 통한 전력 생산뿐만 아니라 저희 전 세계적으로 약 40개 프로젝트를 저희 파트너들과 협의를 지금 진행하고 있는 단계고요. 수송 측면에서도 저희가 LNG 트레이딩을 많이 했습니다. 수입도 하고 실제 차트를 해가지고 운송도 하고요. 그런 역량을 충분히 가지고 있고, 특히 암모니아 분야에 있어서는 저희가 독일 내에 독일 서부 해안 지역에 암모니아 터미널을 지금 건설을 하고 있습니다. 이게 총 저장 용량은 2만 1,000톤 가량을 계획을 하고 있고, 이를 통해서 2027년부터는 약 30만 연간 30만 톤의 암모니아를 수입해서 공급할 계획을 가지고 있습니다. 네, 저희가 최근에 작년입니다. 작년에 미국의 유수 신재생 에너지 업체 중에 하나인 콘 에디슨 클린 에너지라는 회사를 약 9조 원을 투자를 해서 인수를 했습니다. 이를 통해서 기존의 북미 쪽에 저희가 가지고 있던 파이프라인이랑 자산 생산 캐파가 4.1기가와트였는데 이번 인수를 통해서 7.2기가와트로 확장을 시켰고, 또한 추가적으로 저희가 그동안 상대적으로 북미에서 약했던 태양광 부분에 대한 포트폴리오를 40%까지 확대를 할 수 있었습니다. 이를 통해서 북미에서도 이를 활용한 그 그린 하이드로젠 비즈니스를 본격적으로 추진해 보려고 계획하고 있습니다. 잠시만요. 넘어갔네요. 오케이. 다음은 아까 말씀드렸던 저기 암모니아 수입 터미널에 관련된 내용입니다. 저희가 2027년에 완공 예정인데 아까 말씀드린 대로 저장 용량은 한 2만 1,000톤 가량 되고요. 현재 계획은 여기서 투입한 청정 암모니아를 크래킹을 통해 가지고 일반 소비자한테 공급하는 목표를 가지고 있고요. 이 용량은 향후 최대 200만 톤까지 확대할 계획입니다. 다음은 저희 RWE Renewables에서 하고 있는 해상 하이드로젠 비즈니스에 대해서 설명을 드리겠습니다. 저희가 생각하기에, 내부적으로 분석을 하기에 향후 그린 수소에 대한 수요는 감당하기 어려울 정도로 확대가 될 것이고요. 그를 위해서는 저희가 보기에 해상 그린 수소 생산이 필수적인 요인 중에 하나라고 생각을 합니다. 그래서 저희가 내부적으로 분석을 해보니까 특히 유럽 중심으로 해상에서 그린 수소 생산 설비를 직접 구축하는 것이 육상에서 전기를 모아서 생산하는 것보다 훨씬 더 효율적이더라라고 하는 말씀을 드리고 싶습니다. 저희가 Decentralized Approach라고 하는데 그 결과를 보시면은 이 프로젝트는 해당 프로젝트는 아쿠아 덕터스라는 유럽에 있는 프로젝트입니다. 일단 경제성 측면에서 코스트가 육상에다가 수전의 설비를 갖추는 것보다 약 15%가 저렴합니다. 그리고 공기도 약 5.5년 정도가 단축이 가능합니다. 그 외에도 부가적으로 환경적인 영향을 최소화할 수 있다거나 아니면 송전망의 제약을 피할 수 있다거나 또한 근해 지역에 대한 해양, 해상 활용도를 높일 수 있다는 부가적인 장점은 별도로 치고요. 이런 결과는 저희 다른 프로젝트인 아쿠아 벤투스의 개념 설계 결과에서도 유사한 형태로 나타나고 있습니다. 이 아쿠아 벤투스라는 프로젝트는 총 10기가와트의 해상풍력 단지와 수전의 설비를 2035년까지 완성을 해서 하고 그때 해당되는 해상에 있는 수소 운송을 위한 파이프라인 총 길이는 약 610km 가량이 됩니다. 이때도 보면은 공기 측면에서 해상에다가 그 수전해기를 설치하는 게 약 4년 정도 공기가 단축이 되고요. 그리고 비용 측면에서도 약 8조 원 이상의 절감이 가능합니다. 저기 LCOH를 보시면은 약 킬로그램당 약 한 0.5 유로의 단가 차이를 볼 수 있습니다. 네, 다음은 저희가 유럽에 중심으로 진행하고 있는 그린 수소 프로젝트 관련된 내용입니다. 현재 앞서 말씀드린 약 30개 프로젝트 10기가와트를 하고 있고 이를 통해서 2030년까지 약 2기가와트의 해상 풍력을 실질적으로 그린 수소로 전환하고자 합니다. 그 중에서 좀 특이할 만한, 좀 주목할 만한 3개 프로젝트에 대해서 다음 장에서 설명을 드리도록 하겠습니다. 여기가 최종 자료에서 좀 빠져 있는데요. 여기 1번으로 나와 있는 아쿠아 벤투스 프로젝트를 말씀드리면요. 일단 구도로 설명을 드리겠습니다. 이게 총 6개 서브 프로젝트로 구성이 됩니다. 그 중에 그 일정표를 보시면은 2026년에 15메가와트급 해상풍력과 수전해기를 믹스한 프로젝트를 저게 준공을 할 거고요. 그리고 2026년 말부터는 실질적으로 그린 수소를 산업계에 공급할 계획입니다. 2030년까지는 300메가와트, 그리고 2035년까지는 10기가와트까지 프로젝트 규모를 늘릴 계획이고요. 두 번째 프로젝트는 노스2라는 프로젝트인데 이건 네덜란드 북부 지역에서 하고 있는 그린 수소 허브 구축 프로젝트입니다. 이 프로젝트도 2030년까지 4기가와트, 2040년까지 10기가와트 이를 통해서 연간 약 100만 톤의 그린 수소를 독일과 유럽 지역에 공급할 계획을 가지고 있습니다. 마지막 프로젝트는 Get H2라는 프로젝트인데요. 이건 해상 수소 프로젝트는 아니고요. 그 독일과 네덜란드 지역을 아우르는 그린 수소 인프라 구축 사업이라고 할 수 있겠습니다. 저희 육상에다가 수전해 설비를 구축을 해서 기존에 생산하고 있는 신재생 에너지 전력을 끌어들여서 수소를 생산한 다음에 각 지역에 공급하는 프로젝트인데요. 특이한 점은 이 수소 배관 자체를 기존에 있는 배관을 대부분 다 활용했습니다. 실제로 신규 건설하는 건 거의 없고요. 기존의 배관을 활용해서 생산된 전력을 정유 공장 그리고 그 독일의 가장 큰 철강 지역 중에 하나인 철강 산업단지에다 공급하는 프로젝트가 되겠습니다. 네, 여기까지 간략하게 말씀을 드렸고요. 저희 추가적인 질문이 있으시거나 하면 저희 그 독일 쪽 센트럴 수소팀에서 담당자도 왔으니까요. 저희 부스 방문해 주셔가지고 같이 협업할 수 있는 기회 많이 협의해 주시면 감사하겠습니다. 네, 이제 마치겠습니다.
네, 에너지 전문 업체 RWE 이재두 본부장님이었는데요. 이 RWE 그린 수소 프로젝트와 중장기 계획에 대해서 소개를 해주셨습니다. 고맙습니다. 자, 다음으로는 블룸 에너지의 코리아 프로그램 디렉터이십니다. 박준호님을 현장에 모셔봤는데요. 솔리드 옥사이드 Ready for Prime Time이란 주제로 발표 들려주시겠습니다. 박수 부탁드립니다.
안녕하십니까. 먼저 귀중한 토픽 프레젠테이션 타임에 참여할 수 있게 해주셔서 감사드립니다. 저는 블룸에너지 코리아의 박준호 이사고요. 블룸에너지에서는 국내 프로그램 총괄, 한국 프로그램 총괄을 담당하고 있습니다. 저는 지금부터 약 15분간 이제 고체 사나무 플랫폼의 수전의 시스템에 대해서 말씀을 좀 드리겠습니다. 먼저 이제 도입에 앞서서 먼저 짧은 1분간의 영상을 통해서 미국 아이다호 내셔널 렉과 함께 청정수소의 효율적 생산에 기록을 세운 블룸에너지의 수전의 설비에 대한 테스트 영상을 먼저 한번 좀 보시겠습니다. 네, 고맙습니다. 블룸에너지 역사는 나사의 화성 탐사 프로젝트에서 개발된 기술로부터 그 뿌리를 찾을 수 있습니다. 1990년대 블룸의 창립자이자 현재 회장이신 KR 스리다 박사와 대학 연구원으로 구성된 나사팀이 태양 에너지를 이용해서 화성 탐사 시에 물을 호흡에 필요한 산소와 또 탐사 차량에 필요한 연료 수 있는 수소로 분리할 수 있는 연료 장치를 처음으로 개발했습니다. 나사 프로젝트가 종료되던 2001년 스리다 팀은 이 화성 탐사를 연구된 기술을 이제 거꾸로 개발하는 데 초점을 맞췄고요. 그것이 바로 이제 산소와 연료로부터 전기를 생산하는 연료전지 시스템이고, 그렇게 블룸에너지가 탄생을 했습니다. 그동안 저희는 2001년도에 회사를 설립을 하고 2008년도에 최초 제품인 연료전지를 개발해서 지속적으로 보급해 왔고요. 성공적인 SOFC, 즉 연료전지 비즈니스를 통해서 이제는 SOEC, 일렉트롤라이즈 비즈니스로 발돋움을 할 때라고 생각을 하고 있습니다. 블룸은 뉴욕 증시에 상장한 회사로서 캘리포니아 산호세에 본사를 두고 전 세계적으로 활동하고 있습니다. 우리 회사는 고체 산화물 연료전지인 SOFC, 고체 산화물 기술인 솔리드 옥사이드 플랫폼을 이용해서 두 가지 주요한 제품을 제조하고 있습니다. 그것이 앞서 말씀드린 연료전지와 이 반응을 거꾸로 한 수전의 설비에 해당이 되는데요. 블룸은 SOFC, 즉 연료전지에 대한 기술은 이미 세계 최고의 기술로 자리매김을 하고 있고, 현재까지 약 1000개 사이트에 1기가와트 이상의 용량의 연료전지를 보급 설치해왔습니다. 이를 통해서 블룸 SOFC는 연소가 없는 클린한 발전 방식으로 해서 현재까지 2개로 약 2만 기가와트 아워의 전기를 전 세계적으로 생산 공급해 왔습니다. 한국에서는 주로 어플리케이션이 이제 그리드에 연결하는 활용 어플리케이션이 대부분인가 하면, 미국을 포함한 해외 지역에서는 마이크로그리드나 혹은 뭐 데이터 센터, 병원 등의 미션 크리티컬로 필수 부하를 담당하는 어플리케이션으로 적용을 하기도 합니다. 기후변화로 인해서 전력 계통의 블랙아웃이 더 자주 발생하고 또 신뢰성 있고 친환경적인 전력 생산 설비를 필요하는 지금 연료전지는 더 많은 고객들로부터 선호되고 있다고 판단하고 있습니다. 여러분 아마도 그 알칼라인이나 팸 수전에 대한 기술은 이미 많이 접해 보셨고 알칼라인, 팸을 통한 수전해가 재생 가능한 수소를 제공하는 역할들에서 많이 들어보셨을 거라고 확신하는데 솔리드 옥사이드 기반의 고온 수전해 기술에 대해서는 아직 좀 생소하실 수도 있으리라고 좀 생각을 합니다. 물론 저희 블룸의 이제 SOEC를 특징적으로 만드는 것은 이제 SOEC가 기본적으로 섭씨 약 700~800도 정도의 고온에서 작동을 하는 것과 또 흡열식이라는 점입니다. 블룸이 최근에 이제 아이다호 내셔널 랩과 테스트에서 입증된 것처럼 이제 놀라울 정도로 높은 효율성을 달성하고 있는 부분은 바로 이 페어를 활용하는 것이고요. 예를 들어서 이제 암모니아 공정 등이나 이제 화학 공정 등과 같이 온실가스를 저감하기 어려운 HTA 산업에서 발생하는 폐열을 이용을 하면 수전에 소모되는 전기를 크게 줄임으로써 보다 친환경적으로 수소를 생산할 수 있는 백그라운드를 마련할 수 있을 것 같습니다. 2023년 올해 5월 아이다호 내셔널 랩과 블룸 SOEC 기술을 사용해서 500시간여의 운영 테스트를 한 결과 수소 1kg당 37.7kW의 전기를 투입을 해서 수소를 지속적으로 생산할 수 있었는데요. 이는 이제 저온형 수전해 설비에 비해서 약 20에서 40% 정도 적은 에너지 전기원으로 수소를 청정하게 생산한 케이스임을 입증하게 되었습니다. 현재 이제 세계에서 가장 큰 기후 문제 중에 하나는 친환경 리니어블 에너지, 즉 그 재생 가능한 전력을 이용해서도 전기화할 수 없고 화석 에너지를 사용을 해서 연료를 또는 에너지를 공급을 해줘야만 하는 이런 HTA 산업에서의 문제인데요. 앞서 말씀드린 대로 암모니아 전환 공정 등과 같이 또는 이 이외에 있을 뭐 다른 뭐 철강 시멘트나 이런 부분에서 폐열이 발생하는 어떤 그런 산업군에 대해서 저희 SOEC 그 고온 수전의 타입을 연계하면 낮은 에너지 단가로 수소를 청정하게 생산할 수 있는 솔루션이 되지 않을까 이렇게 생각합니다. 블룸의 연료전지는 수전해 설비 블룸은 동일한 이제 SO라고 하는 솔리드 옥사이드 플랫폼 테크놀로지를 이용해서 수전해 설비와 연료전지 기술을 이제 보이고 있는데요. SOFC는 고체 산업을 플랫폼을 이용하면서도 연료에서 개질된 수소와 공기 중에 산소를 전기역관을 통해서 클린하고 또 신뢰성 있는 전기를 생산하고 이때 전기 반응에서 부산물로 고온의 물이 생산되는데요. 이를 지역 난방 등에 이용하면 이제 CHP 어플리케이션으로 적용을 할 수가 있습니다. 블룸 SOFC의 효율은 전기만을 생산할 때 최대 65%까지 달성을 했고, 그다음에 CHE 어플리케이션으로 도입할 경우에는 90%까지 이제 올라갈 수가 있습니다. 동일한 플랫폼 내에서 이를 이제 거꾸로 사용을 한 게 이제 일렉트롤라이저가 되겠는데요. 전기와 원료를 지속적으로 투입하고 이로 인해서 안정적이고 깨끗한 수소를 생산하는 기술 기반이 되겠습니다. 블룸의 SOEC는 그동안 이제 저희가 SOFC를 통해서 사이트에 설치해온 수많은 설치 운영 경험, 이러한 검증된 노하우를 바탕으로 해서 구축이 되었기 때문에 기술적 신뢰성과 안정성을 충분히 확보하는데 그 백그라운드를 가지고 있다고 자신 있게 말씀드릴 수가 있을 것 같고요. SOEC 같은 경우는 SOFC와 동일한 핵심 플랫폼을 가지고 있지만 이와 더불어서도 동일한 서플라이 체인, 동일한 제조 프로세스, 그다음에 동일한 모니터링 제어 인프라스트럭처와 함께 연료전지와 동일한 컨셉으로 모듈화 확장성을 보유하고 있는 게 또 저희 블룸에너지 일렉트로라이저의 특징이라고 볼 수 있습니다. SOEC의 기능을 최적으로 구현하기 위해서 기존의 SOFC와 동일한 플랫폼을 사용하지만 일부의 디자인 체인지를 이제 수행을 했는데요. 예를 들면 타랑 장치와 같이 불필요한 보조 설비를 없애는 대신에 스팀 인테그레이션이 추가되었고요. 인버터를 없애는 대신에 이제 렉티파이어를 유지하거나 상향해서 이제 설계하도록 이제 반영을 했습니다. 또한 셀 재료는 SOFC와 동일하지만 그 SOEC는 좀 더 이제 연료전지보다는 약간 낮은 온도에서 동작을 하다 보니까 셀 케미스트리 조정을 통해서 성능을 향상시킬 수 있도록 그렇게 했습니다. 이와 더불어 이제 앞서 말씀드린 SOFC의 동일한 플랫폼 내에서 만들어진 SOFC의 운영 노하우를 통해서 이제 그 노하우가 이제 향후 저희가 SOEC를 공급하는데 많은 이제 직접적인 이점을 제공하리라고 이제 생각이 되는데요. 뭐 자세한 내용으로 보시면 이제 저희가 셀 단위로는 연료전지에 있어서는 8천억 시간 이상의 운전 시간을 셀 운전 시간을 보유하고 있고 150메가와트의 마이크로 그리드를 포함한 1기가와트 이상의 설치 실적을 이제 보유해서 탄탄하고도 유연성 있는 서플라이 체인을 또 보유하고 있습니다. 향후 이제 이러한 수요의 증가를 이제 대비해서 저희는 이제 기존 저희가 델러웨어에 있던 팩토리에 추가적으로 생산 설비를 이제 추가를 해서 현재 SOEC 기준으로 2기가와트, 그다음에 SOFC 기준으로는 1기가와트에 해당하는 생산 설비를 이제 확보했습니다. 예, 그다음에 저희가 이제 SOEC 부분에 데모 프로젝트 또는 이제 콜라보레이션 혹은 이제 프로젝트 진행에 관한 내용을 잠시 이제 말씀드리겠습니다. 첫 번째로 이제 캐나다 기반의 워덴 이제 H2가 주도하는 누지오 호닉 프로젝트의 60메가와트 규모의 블룸 SOEC가 이제 설치가 될 예정이고요. 나사 아메스 연구센터에서 고체 산화물 수조내로서는 최대 규모인 4메가와트의 실증 시스템을 이용한 수소 생산을 시연을 완료를 했습니다. 마지막에 아마 영상으로 짧게 또 감상하실 수가 있을 것 같습니다. 엑셀 에너지와 블룸에너지는 이제 원자력 시설에서 탄소 재료 수소 생산을 추진할 것을 이제 목표로 하고 있고요. 앞서 말씀드린 대로 아이다호 내셔널 랩에서 기록적인 효율성으로 수소 생산을 이미 입증한 바 있습니다. 웨스팅하우스와는 이제 원자력 산업에서의 탄소 제로 대규모 수소 생산을 가속화하기 위한 의향서에 서명을 했고요. 이렇게 해서 이제 우리가 수소 생산을 향한 비즈니스도 지속적으로 확대를 할 계획입니다. 또한 이제 국내에서 진행된 사항으로는 이제 크게 두 가지 정도가 있는데요. 블룸은 이제 한국 남부 발전과 진행하는 제주도 청정수소 생산 프로젝트에 참여를 할 계획으로 발표를 했고요. 블룸이 이미 이제 2022년 작년 6월달 SK 에코플랜트와 함께 이제 구미에 위치한 블룸 SK 퓨얼셀 공장의 SOEC 실증 데모를 시연을 했으며. 이 설비는 이제 실증 운전 기간 동안에 당초 2022년도에 계획했던 효율보다 훨씬 더 이제 성공적인 효율로 실증 기간을 마치고 이듬해 이제 올해 저희 그 SK 에코플랜트가 보유하고 있는 이제 프로젝트 중에 창원 아리백 사이트로 옮겨서 설치 운영될 계획입니다. 블룸은 현재 이제 수전해를 공급하기 위한 시스템으로 약 10.8메가 정도를 이제 기준으로 하는 단위로 그 단위 모듈을 좀 설정을 하고 있습니다. 저희 이제 연료전지 같은 경우에는 최소 어떤 모듈에 대한 설계 컨셉이 딱히 정해져 있지는 않았었는데요. 이제 수전의 설비에서는 10.8메가를 이상으로 해서 그다음에 각 이제 1.8메가와트 단위로 증대를 시켜서 이를 이제 기가와트까지 확대할 수 있는 이제 모듈화 컨셉을 이제 도입을 했는데요. 슬라이드에서 보시는 이제 그 어레인지먼트 같은 경우에는 25.2메가와트의 어레인지먼트에 해당하고 BOP를 포함한 설치 면적이 약 2,400 스퀘어피트 정도가 될 것 같습니다. BOP 면적은 또 BOP 설계 내용에 따라서 달라질 수 있지만 슬라이드에서 보시는 것 같이 이런 식의 이제 모듈화된 구조가 계속 늘어날 것이고요. 기존에 아마 저희 연료전지를 아시는 분들은 그 뭐 냉장고 같이 깔끔한 형태의 외장을 또 생각하시는 분들이 많이 있으실 텐데 이제 SOEC 같은 경우에는 이게 수소 생산 설비다 보니까 이제 아무래도 플랜트에 가까운 설비고요. 그러다 보니 어떤 외관보다는 이런 효율적으로 면적을 활용할 수 있는 컨셉으로 진행을 할 계획입니다. 다음 장표는 저희 뭐 인스톨레이션 옵션에 대한 부분인데요. 그동안에 SOFC를 통해서 강점을 보유하고 있는 부분을 간단하게 이제 요약해서 말씀드리고자 하였으나 시간이 이제 거의 다 된 관계로 끝으로 해서 잠시만요. 끝으로 이제 이번 올해 나사 아메스 연구센터에서 4메가와트급으로 성공적으로 시연한 데모 프로젝트에 관련한 영상을 시청하시면서 제 발표는 여기서 마치겠습니다. 고맙습니다.
Earlier this month, we began producing hydrogen at the NASA Ames Research Center in California with the world's largest solid oxide electrolyzer deployment. This Bloom Electrolyzer Showcase demonstrates the maturity, efficiency, and commercial readiness of our solid oxide technology for large-scale, clean hydrogen production. With its industry-leading efficiency, the high-temperature Bloom electrolyzer can produce 25% or more hydrogen than similarly sized low-temperature electrolyzers. It's a full-circle moment for Bloom Energy, honoring our past while looking to the future. The showcase is at the same site where the company began operations over 20 years ago, and that has served as our technology proving ground ever since.
This project, what it's doing is taking clean electricity and using it to split the bond between H2 and O in the water molecule. And we're going to trap the hydrogen and use it as a form of chemical energy as a fuel. The beauty of hydrogen as a fuel is it doesn't contain a carbon atom, so it cannot emit CO2, which is harmful to the planet.
The most exciting thing about this project was the scale of the demonstration we have, getting this thing set up and started out within the time frame. I think the entire team has done a fabulous job.
This is the first time solid oxide electrolyzer has been running at this scale. It can be a really useful tool in decarbonization because it can fill in for other fuels that contain carbon. So we can swap it and replace it, and it'll really enable us to decarbonize hard-to-abate industries such as fertilizers, cement, transportation.
The Bloom Electrolyzer Showcase at Moffett Field was built, installed, and operationalized in a span of just 2 months. It's really a testament to the technical know-how of our people, the simplicity of our design, and the agility of our operations. We leveraged the experience of our people who have deployed more than 1 gigawatt of solid oxide fuel cells in the field to bring this project from an idea to reality. Our product and our people are ready for prime time.
네, 박수 부탁드립니다. 네, 탈탄소 실현을 위한 블룸 에너지의 기술과 계획에 대해서 들어봤습니다. 박준호 디렉터님이었습니다. 고맙습니다. 자, 이제 토픽 1의 마지막 발표가 되겠는데요. 슬로박 내셔널 하이드로젠 어소시에이션의 멤버 오브 보드이십니다. 피터 블라트코비츠님의 강연 함께 청해 들어보겠습니다. 무대로 모셔보겠습니다. 네. 저희가 이렇게 7분의 발표를 준비를 했는데요. 블룸 에너지 연사분의 발표를 마지막으로 토픽 1 순서 마무리하도록 하겠습니다.